You're listening to The Right Side of the Rivers, hosted by Todd, McCollum, and Russell Dreyer. This show tackles public issues from a Pittsburgh point of view, offering common-sense conversations, right-of-center perspectives, and a focus on the people, policies, and principles shaping Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and Pennsylvania.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to The Right Side of the Rivers. This is the official podcast of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee, and I am your host and chairman, Todd McCollum, joined as always to my left here by my good friend and vice chairman, Russell Dreyer. Russell.
Good evening, Todd.
How you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Yourself?
I'm fighting a little something here, but we're marching on here.
There's a bugaboo flying around for sure.
Yes, and we know that five-star producer Missy has it, and we're wishing her the best. We made a call into the bullpen today. Here we got someone who's going to make us.
We've got 1A. We've got 1A helping.
That's
us
right.
out
He's going to make us look and sound great as always. Show 12 and show 11 was a big hit by everyone that watched it. James Hayes is fabulous. Had a lot of economic talk.
James makes everyone better.
That's right, and it looks like someone's committed to having a primary with him, at least one person.
We think so, yep.
Those people are going to be on the show, hopefully, as well, too, in the interest of fairness. But we love James. He did a great job talking about all the stuff that we talked about last week. Hey, a lot of stuff going on. We have a great guest today here, too, with a lot of information. So why don't we jump right into it? A couple things that we want to get to before we bring our guest in here. Army-Navy game was last Saturday. We want to thank everybody who braved the weather. Food was purchased in advance. We had to sort of plug on with it. So we had a good turnout based on the weather. Special thanks to the Morningside VFW for being gracious hosts. That's a beautiful event out there. If you're looking for a hall to rent, they're the place to go to. They can hold about 130 people.
135, 140 people.
And so if you need a hall, it's a great place to go to. Thanks, John, for your work out there and doing the cooking. And we also have special thanks to our special guest got snowed in Harrisburg or was reluctant to drive in from Harrisburg, but Senator Chris Dush.
Dush. Like Rush, but Dush.
I'm a butcher of names, but here we are. Senator came down from North Central PA, and he's running for lieutenant governor, and he stepped in as our special guest, and he talked at halftime, and he seems pretty great.
He's a great guy.
For those of you who don't know him.
And he was a neutral arbiter because he's an Air Force guy.
That's right. So. That's right. And Navy won the game. Seemed like that was the
two great years. This was the 126th game. The 125th game was just as good.
Right, and it was a great game. It seemed like Navy was not the favorite in the hall that day. Seemed like everybody was cheering for Army, but it was a great game and great event. Food was great, everything.
Fantastic.
And you organized that, and great job by you for pulling that off.
Well, it's easy to work when you're working with good people. You know?
For sure. So speaking of good people and organizing things, our friend Gina Paulus is hosting something. Why don't you, she talked to you about it. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Sure. This is a public service announcement from our chairwoman in District 2, Gina Paulus. This Saturday, December 20th, we know people were busy, but there will be a live stream for the city's tax budget. So there's going to be a public hearing. There'll be a live stream, and we are asking all Republicans to please come and be part of that live stream with us at RCAC headquarters. That's 100 Fleet Street, Suite 205. So this is RCAC headquarters, 100 Fleet Street, Suite 205, Pittsburgh, 15220. Now, all speakers must arrive no later than 10:30 a.m. on Saturday. So we are asking Republicans, independents, all intellectually objective-minded people, frankly, that would like to come and speak directly to City Council to please, again, come this Saturday to RCAC headquarters, 100 Fleet Street, Suite 205, Pittsburgh, PA 15220 at 11 a.m. We'd like you to show up no later than 10:30. We need everybody to get organized and come and be a speaker, and we will have notes and details about this event on Saturday in the show details here. Todd.
So if you want to register to speak, you need to do that in advance. We will get the link in the comments below here to register to speak, and you'll be able to speak from RCAC with a lot of moral support behind you, hopefully. So great job by Gina for getting that together.
Thank you, Gina.
And we want to hold people's feet to the fire here. Couple other things I wanted to get to before we bring our guest in. Russell, a lot of evil in the world going on right about now. It's sad at Christmas time, but we would be remiss if we didn't bring it up. To the people of Australia, we are thinking of you and the Jewish community around the world. We are thinking of you. We love you, and we want the best for you. That was a despicable event. While it did have some heroics to it as well, but it was a despicable event in Australia. And we do support the Jewish community here in Pittsburgh and around the world. The Brown University shooting, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Rhode Island and Providence, the college Republicans throughout the United States, and particularly at Brown University, and the young Republicans of the country. Ella Cook was her name, one of the girls that was lost their lives there, and she was the vice president of the College of Republicans there. So we are thinking of you, and of course the Rob Reiner homicide in Los Angeles, not on our side politically, but was it's in the news.
Funny guy, talented guy.
It was, yeah.
It's
I can still remember
tragic.
some of the reruns of All in the Family. So we don't want to be like them. We wish the family the best. The good news out of some tragedy is the West Mifflin. I'm sorry, could give up where I'm from, huh? The West Virginia National Guardsman has been released,
Correct.
as I understand, from the hospital and is home recovering, and good for him. We wish him a speedy recovery as well. You and I are missing out tonight because, for the past couple of years, we've taken a little trip up north in the cold weather.
Very good.
And
very good.
We have Pennsylvania's Mayor, J.D. Longo of Slippery Rock, is holding his
Guest
bartending
event
at the local watering hole up there, and that benefits the local food bank. Past couple of years, you and I have taken a ride up there
That's
to
so
support
much fun.
that, and
45 minutes and
you
can have a great time.
Yeah, and
Slippery
JD's a great guy. Like I said,
question.
Pennsylvania's mayor,
No question.
reelected.
He knows
for
that's
fair-
a Republican that knows how to win.
Yes,
right there.
Yes, and we are going to have him on the show after the first of the year, hopefully real quick. We lobbied to take the show on the road.
We did a little bit, yeah.
Didn't work out,
A
but
lot of moving parts.
maybe next year we'll have a right side of French Creek. How's that sound? Right side of French Creek. So those are a couple things I wanted to get to before we got started. And we have a great guest with us here today again, as always. Why don't you tell us about it?
Sure. We have a fantastic guest. And thanks again, everybody, for tuning in this evening. This is our 12th episode. Thank you for joining us on the right side of the rivers. We have just a really special guest. Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to all those who observe out there. This is a very holy time of the year. We have a sort of a holy, famous guest with us this evening. We would like to introduce to our audience, who needs our guest needs no introduction, a great friend of our committee, a great personal friend to both of us, Joseph Patrick Murphy. Joseph Patrick Murphy has been doing immigration law for a quarter of a century, and the name of his law firm is Allegheny Immigration Group. He's been a guest on CNN numerous times. He's on all the networks, and of course, you may hear him frequently on KDKA radio in the afternoon. So without further ado, we would like to welcome to this program our friend Joseph Patrick Murphy. Welcome in, Joseph.
Welcome to the right side of the river.
Todd, Russell, thanks for having me on. It's kind of exciting.
Joseph, talk to us a little bit about what you do. We know this is obviously a very busy time for you.
Yes.
Just give us a little background about yourself and what you practice.
Well, sure. Joseph Patrick Murphy. I'm a husband and a father. I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm a registered Republican. And I run an immigration firm here in town called Allegheny Immigration Group. What we do is help people follow American immigration law. There's not a lot of people who want to do that. And of course, they're causing a lot of trouble in our country and getting a lot of people angry. But the people that do want to follow our laws and want to get the green card, the work permit, maybe become citizens, we help them do that.
So you brought up a really good point there. I think, there's a lot of people that are trying to do this the right way, Joseph. And unfortunately, like anything else, you do have a few bad apples who spoil it for everyone. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about, some of the pressures that the people that are doing it the right way feel and what you've heard from them.
Sure. When you enter the country normally with a visa, you've already been, so to speak, pre-vetted. You had to apply for that visa from your home country. You had to be interviewed at an embassy or consulate, and you had to take a police and medical clearance certificate to your interview, among other things, depending upon the visa type, in order to get that permit to enter the United States. So we know exactly who these people are that are coming in with visas. We've checked them out. We've all agreed under our law it's okay to let these people in the United States. They don't have horrible criminal records. They're not carrying dangerous diseases like tuberculosis that could hurt Americans. When people run across the border, they're short-circuiting that process. And unfortunately, more of them than you'd like to know are doing it specifically for that reason. A good amount of those people, we would never let them in here. They're inadmissible for any number of reasons. And that's the problem. We don't know who they are. Now, thankfully, for the vast majority of them, they've come in here and they've really not caused the kind of total catastrophes that could have been caused. But there's some highly publicized rough situations. I think that's what you're alluding to. And it does give the whole group a bad name. Obviously, specific examples you want to talk about, Russell?
I wanted to, if we could compare and contrast a little bit to previous administrations, because I think you and I think a lot of people from the right side of the river's perspective know who the deporter in chief was.
It's President Obama.
And if we could just get into, for as much as the media has been covering Trump's work at the border and let's say sensationalizing those detainees and those deportations, not even close, right, Joseph, to the numbers that Barack Obama deported.
No, Obama is definitely the deporter in chief, and he's definitely got President Trump beat. Now, whether that is going to be how the numbers are going to match up at the end of Trump's term, I don't know, because I'm fairly certain President Trump intends at some point to outshine Obama, if that's what you want to call it. As far as the media, they're overhyping it. And I'll tell you why. Among other things, the people that Obama was deporting in large scale entered lawfully. They were inspected. They were, and a large number of them were visa overstays. But Obama was deporting people so fast, they couldn't hire me. I couldn't make money as an immigration lawyer. I had to go defend credit card cases for a couple of years. That hasn't happened yet under President Trump. I'm happy to say we're able to run a business still. That may be the case if things get much more extreme in the enforcement. But so far, so good. President Trump has not met the Obama mark yet.
Right.
Joseph,
Yes.
Because we want everybody to get to know you here a little bit. You said you're Republican.
Yes, sir.
We're aware of that. Tell us about your Republican roots and your conservative roots.
Sure. Long line of law enforcement people in my family. My grandfather was a state trooper. My dad was a Philly cop. They both served in military conflicts. My dad's father in World War I, my mother's father in World War II, my dad in Vietnam twice. Imagine my mom's surprise. She came home and had a baby with her and got her pregnant again, and then announced he was going back to kill more communists. He left her there. The value system, obviously abortion as a Catholic is a serious, serious issue to me. I think, too, Republican is a way of thinking about things, perhaps less emotion-based and more pragmatic. At least modern republicanism seems to be. And I find a comfortable place there. The few times I've hung out, Murphy, Irish Catholics, a lot of Democrats in my family, you find that it seems like they're always pushing them. Nothing's ever extreme enough. If this guy wants to go for socialism, this guy wants to go for communism. And if you're not going further in the same direction, they're immediately angry at you. There's a lot of stuff like that, and it's just not a good fit for me socially, psychologically, or logically.
And one other thing that you might have sold yourself short on a little bit,
Mhm.
if I recall correctly, you not too long ago ran for common pleas court judge.
I
Right?
did. In 2021, I ran for county common pleas. This would be a countywide judgeship. There was a lot of seats available that time. It appears that half of the baby boomers on the bench all retired in the same year. So it was a really wild election season. I think at one point there were up to 39 different people running for county judge, and there may have been 10 seats open. But that was a great time. I got to meet a lot of the great committees, a lot of great people in our party. Got to learn a lot about this county. And I'll tell you, it made me a better man. I encourage people to run for public office. You learn a lot about how politics works. You learn a lot about how the world works. You visit people's homes. You learn about how our county works, how power flows. It's just a really great experience in your life. It takes a lot of time, and a lot of people think about running for office. Oh my God, I could never do that. You could. It doesn't have to be some giant countywide judgeship, but you can run for things, and you can have a good time of it. You can meet a lot of people, learn new skills. It's a good time.
Sure. We need good people, even at the lowest, and I don't want it to mean anything, but
Yeah.
even at school board or
Dog catcher,
and
right? Go
dog
get
catcher,
jobs.
yeah. One thing that if I'm taking you out of context here from my memory, I apologize. But I think at that time when you were running for judge, you had mentioned how hard it was specifically for a Republican, not
Mhm.
someone who is cross-filing as a Republican, to win as a judge. Other than the obvious in Allegheny County,
Mhm.
was there a more is there a harder road to become a Republican judge in Allegheny County? And if I misquoted you on that, I apologize, but
Well,
it seems that,
yeah,
you had mentioned that
right.
it's hard to find Republicans, registered Republicans, to run for that position.
Right. I mean, nominally, a judge is supposed to be a nonpartisan position. Nobody has Republican opinions on the speed limit or whether a murder was committed. However, the county does have I think they've got a better than 2-to-1 advantage in raw numbers, Democrats over Republicans. Couple with that, the fact that they run their elections in ways that we don't. Democrats have there's different systems. I was cross-filed myself. But it's very difficult for people to get into that, to raise money as Republicans. All the donors are convinced you won't win, so they won't give you money. They'll give, these corporations will give money to these Democrats because they know some of them are going to win. I actually came awfully close to winning that seat. I think you had to be in the top 10. I might have been 11 or 12, which was a squeaker. But I put together a great team. All the people, some of them are watching right now. We had a lot of these political campaigns, when they're over, the people never want to talk to each other again. We're all still working together and having good times. We're having a Christmas party for our little group on December 27th. Getting Republicans to run for these positions is going to be a very difficult situation. The job pays, I think, about $200,000 a year. And you already have to be a lawyer. And, skilled lawyers make a lot more than that. So you're going to be looking for people that maybe they're semi-retired. I don't know. But it would have been even a big pay cut for me with my little immigration office. And I was aware of that, and I was willing to bite that bullet. I talked to my wife about it. We would have to make some compromises, but politically that would be wonderful for our county to get another Republican judge.
You have any thoughts on the magistrate system that's in place here? We've heard, it hasn't been recent, but we've heard about the way the magistrates operate. And
So you look at the system of magistrates. This is a holdover really from, I think, the Roman Empire. That empire had expanded so rapidly, you'd have people that were so far out. And disputes could develop in the colonies and provinces that were big enough to threaten the flow of taxes back to Rome, but weren't big enough for the people that were fighting to go to Rome and argue about them. So they created systems of magistrate. This is where the word majesty comes from. They were representatives of Caesar, and they were people that they believed could keep order in these provinces. In some places, they're called justices of the peace. They don't have to be lawyers. They have to have some training, but they don't have to be lawyers. And so you've got a different kind of thing there. Someone who could keep order in Pine Township, where I live, it might be totally different in Rankin. But it's usually someone that's respected by people locally. In the Roman Empire, some of them were quite sinister, but they were people that if they gave a ruling, you wouldn't cross them. And that's the idea with those. And that's why that's what they handle. In many cases, they're serious things. I'm not suggesting they're petty, but a simple landlord-tenant, an initial analysis of criminal charges in their neighborhood. Is this serious enough to send downtown? Speeding tickets, things of this nature. They're real disputes to the people in the community, even the small claims. But are you going to really come downtown to Pittsburgh and hire me at my rates to fight over a $2,500 unpaid bill to some department store? They do that at the magistrate because it's reasonable to do that.
Well, we certainly had a lot of civics lessons this year with
Yes.
a lot of people not understanding how the judicial system worked, and cross-filing,
Uh-huh.
and, state appellate judges, and of course the retention question. But
Mhm.
I appreciate you answering those questions, because
Well, I hope it's helpful.
it was spend the whole time on immigration, wanted to diverse it a little bit.
If we could, there are maybe a couple questions from people in the audience
Rough me up. Let's go.
who've got some questions about immigration. Now, Venezuela's been in the news,
Sure.
unfortunately, for all the wrong reasons, because that's a beautiful country with beautiful people,
Mhm.
with probably the best weather in the world. So we wish all our Venezuelan friends and family well at this very difficult time.
Here.
And maybe more on that later tonight from the president himself. But with respect to asylum
Mhm.
and TPS, so let's say that an individual is in this asylum process,
Mhm.
and they've had an interview,
Right.
So they've had their interview, and then I think after their interview, in about 3 weeks or a month, they will get a letter in the mail telling them whether or not that they've in fact have asylum.
Mhm.
But what we've just found out is the asylum cases have all been paused.
Mhm.
Do you see that as a positive or a negative in terms of the asylum case?
I'll rate it as almost neutral. People that are waiting for their asylum interview generally have a receipt for having applied for asylum, and the receipt says right on it, you're authorized to remain in the United States until your case is decided. That's an authorization. That's not a legal presence like a tourist visa, but they're allowed to stay and they're allowed to work while they're waiting for that decision. So, if it's taking them longer to make that decision, it doesn't get you a win, but it also doesn't get you a loss. It gets you're able to stay. Obviously, we all want to accelerate the case if we know we're going to win, but not everybody does. And so in the meantime, a delay in a final decision, it's really neither positive or negative, but you do get to stay during that time and you can work.
Okay. Well, thank you. And then there's also, I believe there's a fee that must
Yep.
be paid.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's a new thing. It's part of the big, beautiful bill. A lot of fees for different immigration things were increased, some of them drastically. There was one in particular that used to be $110, is now was $1,010. So there's been some real shockers. In the asylum space, they put in an annual fee. People sometimes wait a very long time for those interviews and court hearings, and they now have to pay $100 a year to keep that case going. It's something. It's not something that's going to break the bank, but it's something to keep up on. And I suspect it's not going to go very well for people who forget to make those payments. The interview is still going to happen at the time in some future, maybe a couple years from now. Is he up on his payments or is she up on her payments? That, in some future legal regime, may be grounds for denial. So I encourage people to make those payments if they can. If anybody needs help making the payments, they have to be made online. You can call my office. We can send you a link. There's a couple different links. There are different ways of paying it if you have a court case versus a regular asylum, but we can get you links. You can make it very easy to make those payments. If you can't make it, there's mechanisms to ask for some relief if you're actually really, out of pocket. But most people should be able to pay that.
Okay, thank you. And Joseph, just I guess one more quick observation from you about immigration, maybe before we move on to other topics. Everything becomes politicized.
Yes.
And it seems like the other side has done a real good job of sort of co-authoring and conflating legal immigration and illegal immigration.
Yes.
Can you help clarify that for us, please?
So you have, when you talk about asylum cases, there's two types. There's what's called affirmative asylum. That's for people who got into this country in one way or another legally. They either had a visa or they came to the border and there was a humanitarian reason to let them in the United States. That's a process called parole. Those people do what's called an affirmative asylum. It's a pretty civil process and it culminates in an interview. We were talking about that before. The interview is not an adversarial process. They just, an asylum officer talks to you and they'll commonly say, look, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to help you if I can. And that's the process we've designed for people who get into our country and decide that for whatever reason that they want to ask for asylum. Contrast that with people who enter our country illegally and want to have asylum. What happens when you enter the country without a visa is they start a deportation immediately. And you're at that point using asylum as a defense, as a shield. You're saying to the court, in essence, look, I know I made a mistake here. I entered the country illegally, but I've got a reason. I'm running from communism in Venezuela or narco-terrorists in Colombia or whatever it is. And you got to talk to a judge. And that's kind of like double jeopardy because if you win, you get asylum, eventually a green card, even citizenship. If you lose, you get deported. So that's the defensive system. And that is where you have a lot of unusual, very dramatic circumstances. The media loves that because it is such a jeopardized position. It's all or nothing, and it creates a lot of drama. There's courts, there's judges, there's prosecutors, there's lawyers, and there's consequences. And that's really, I think, one of the factors driving it. The other one is, I believe, that the organized left sees mass deportations, highly publicized physical arrests, the kinetic arrests, as a way of giving President Trump a bloody nose. Again, the exact same things and more were going on under President Obama. It's just it wasn't shown to us. And well, there you have it. I mean, the American people have resoundingly voted to do exactly this. So you get the media doing what they did, and they do all the time when the public votes against what the intelligentsia likes. Oh, you didn't know what you were doing. You made a mistake. It's only old people and mean people who voted for this. It's the same things they did with England and Brexit. It's the same things they did with any number of times the popular vote went against what the pointy-headed intellectuals decided was the best for us. Yeah.
Right on. Thank you for clarifying that.
Very well.
In talking about what the left thinks, and if I'm wrong, please correct me because I wanted you here as a learning process for myself as well. Yeah. But I've always come to understand it is immigration or illegal immigration. Is that a strict liability crime?
Yeah,
because the left never mentions that.
Well, in the sense that you enter the country and you either don't have papers or you snuck in the country, that's an immediate start of a deportation. Now, there's defenses to that. We recognize, international law recognizes, treaties we've signed recognize that you might have to break the law of a foreign country to get in there and ask for help. Okay, historically, that was things like jumping over the Berlin Wall into the American sector or making a raft and getting over here from Cuba. I had a client who was a stowaway in an airliner during the Liberian Civil War. His friends loaded him into the belly of a 747 headed to JFK Airport. So people do those things. In many cases, the situations that create a real asylum seeker are quite dire. People that have been tortured. Sometimes they have malnutrition and things like that. Sometimes there's very serious psychiatric wounds. Those are more common now as oppressive regimes have gotten sneakier. So it's a strict liability offense in the sense that they're going to immediately start a deportation. But there still is a mechanism to explain why you're here, because somebody's going to want to know, what are you doing here? You don't have a visa. And you could say, I'm hiding. I'm hiding from Fidel Castro or whatever. Is that helpful, Russell?
Yeah,
Todd, I'm sorry.
It's helpful, yeah, for sure. It's just never mentioned. It's never described that way.
Mhm.
Especially, it's one thing to maybe separate the asylum issue a little bit from the person who's just walking across or jumping the wall.
Right, and a lot of them, you'll ask them, what's the problem? Why are you here? And they'll say, well, I'm up here to make money, or I'm up here to make a better life. Many of them are repeating talking points that were used by NGOs to sell them the idea of doing that. Some of them, if you talk to them a little bit longer, will reveal some harrowing things. I remember clearly a young man, he's actually a client now, came to my office. This is a guy who's like 19 years old. Nice kid from Latin America. And we had the conversation, right? What are you doing? What's the reason for this asylum? And at first he said just that. He said, well, my friends are up here. I want to make money. America's great. This is not an asylum claim. This is an economic migration. And I was about to tell the kid I couldn't help him, but you have to be a little patient with these people. Sometimes there's things they're afraid to admit or embarrassed to admit. And I said to him, sir, you're thousands of miles from home. You didn't do that just to drive Uber. I mean, what's really going on here? And after a minute or two, he said to me, the police accidentally or inaccurately marked me as a member of a gang, took me to the police department and pulled my fingernails out with pliers. And I'm telling you guys, at that moment, you instinctively look, and they were all mangled up. So, people will use that kind of those talking points. Sometimes they really are just here to make money, and sometimes they're saying that to cover something else up. So you got to be careful in screening. You don't want to go too far in one direction or another. There's methods of getting people to talk, non-torturous methods. This is not VFA, but there are ways of getting people to talk. You have to be gentle. You have to provide, an environment where they feel safe talking. And some people you can't ever get to talk, but you're right. Some of them are just here as economic migrants.
And Joseph, I'm sure you have hundreds of stories of people who are here.
Yep.
They're doing it the right way, and,
Oh my
and you've
God,
been
yeah.
able to get them through the entire process.
Yes.
To where they can actually become an
Citizen.
American citizen.
Yes.
Probably one of the prouder moments of your career and of their lives. Could you tell us some proud moments over the years of getting people their citizenship?
Some of the most proud moments were people that were running from the collapsing Soviet Union in the early 90s and late 90s. That was really cool. Recently, I worked on a program that President Trump implemented. It was called the Liberian Green Card Program. That ran from 2020, actually late 2019 to late 2021. Even during my political campaign, I still made time every Sunday to go work on those projects and flew out to Minneapolis. A lot of Liberians live there. That program gave people backdated green cards. So once they got it, they didn't have to wait the 5 years that everybody else does. They could immediately turn around and become citizens. There was one case in particular I remember. It might be longer than you want to give me, but you cry when you realize what people go through to become a U.S. citizen. Maybe 1 out of 200 people that set foot in our country actually make it to citizen, and they really are elite. They're amazing, and they deserve it. It takes a lot to do that.
Takes a lot to do that, and really, most of the people that are trying to do it the right way, I think we all share those same values. We want stability in our lives. We appreciate law and order. We appreciate structure. We're looking for a great education for our kids. All those things.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's mechanically going through the steps, diligently going through the steps and following the legal requirements, paying the fees, taking the tests, keeping your nose clean, right? Because crimes could disqualify you. You get caught hurting Americans, or so they're going to give you a hard time about that. I think also a big part of what is making our country so angry is there's a certain kind of feeling of parallel play. Many of these people, even people that are becoming citizens, it's not like they really desperately want to be Americans. They desperately want to be here. They want to have access. And maybe it won't be them. Maybe it'll be their kids or a couple generations down the road where people start to really love this country. And I'm not suggesting any of these people don't. But what I'm saying is they, I don't know, I don't feel like they want to join the Americans as much as they want to be here. And maybe that takes some adjustment. I don't know. My ancestors moved here in 1742.
Well, I think that's an interesting point. From my experience, just dealing with different ethnic groups and coming from a bit of an ethnic background myself, I know that there was mass immigration to the United States from Italy, and so you have a language barrier almost immediately. Now, Italians are famous because they went everywhere in the world. They went to Australia, another obviously English-speaking country. They also went to Venezuela. They went to Argentina. And it looks like, from some of their stories, when they went to the Spanish-speaking countries, because the language is so similar, they were able to assimilate almost immediately. Whereas the folks that went to English-speaking countries, like America, for example, it took maybe the next generation to really get up to speed with everything and be very successful. So I think maybe the language, depending on where you're coming from, has a lot to do with assimilation as well.
Transplanting, assimilation, all that stuff is never easy. I mean, look at Irish people. They actually spoke English, and they had one of the worst times immigrating to this country of any group. That's part of probably where my sympathies come from in terms of what I do for a living. Irish people usually have a special place for immigrants. I get what you're saying, and I think maybe that's something that happens down the road, this real excitement at being Americans. It may not be something that transplants and first generations do. They're no less Americans than anybody else. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I think that's where my question was coming off at was, is there there can be a balance of embracing America and still holding on to your culture as well, too.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just. You look at some of these, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm certainly not going to name anyone, but this is it wasn't someone becoming a citizen, but it was a woman a couple years ago. Helped her get the green card during Corona, and came in the mail, and I called her, and she came over, and I usually photocopy it in case they lose it, and I have them sign a receipt. And I give her the green card, and the first thing she says is, "Great, can I get welfare now?" And my heart just fell, right? Lady, that's not what that's for. But she is entitled to do that, and that's the law. So,
Well, I think there are exceptions, obviously, but I think from my experience, I know a lot of people want to come here because they know that they can be entrepreneurs.
Right.
They know that they can work.
Right.
They know that they can contribute to the great history that we have. So
that's the excitement and the energy. Exactly that. They can't, let me at them. They can't wait to get it. You're right.
And there's
Good
Todd,
talk.
there's a lot. I think there's a lot we could go from that conversation with Joseph. But where
there
would
are
you
some
like to
current
go?
events, though. There are a couple things I'd like to get to, and I'm going to work off of the Trib article from last Friday. Joseph, we mentioned this before we came on air. Springdale Borough,
Yes. Great town.
was in the news. Our friends up the Allegheny Valley. The discussion was that they signed a agreement to work with ICE.
Yes.
Which is it seems to be the exception, not the norm. And then came some conflict out of that signing, or whether that was on the agenda, or who knew about it, who didn't know about it, and it wasn't open to public discussion.
Right.
We don't necessarily have to get into the details unless you know something specifically about that. But tell us, is this a common practice that there has to be a cooperation or mutual aid agreement with ICE before you're actually working with ICE?
Generally, the states are prohibited from interfering in the enforcement of immigration law, and that even includes doing the enforcement of immigration law unless they've been deputized and trained. If they don't know what they're doing, obviously they could do more harm than good. And clearly, as a state official, as a policeman or something like that, they're not allowed to be doing immigration law. So they have to be deputies and they have to know what they're doing. The cooperation agreements are called 287G agreements. The local police department, mayor, I don't know who the executive of that has the authority to do that, enters into an agreement with the Department of Homeland Security. Their local police have to travel to a training site at their own expense. They have to have their own lodging and all this stuff. But they go through, I believe it's a couple weeks of training at the expense of the local municipality. Everything except the training itself is paid by the local municipality. And when that's done, and if they complete the training and pass the testing, they can be deputized to enforce federal immigration law. So now you have a hybrid police officer. Historically, cops didn't care about your immigration status. They cared if you were staying, not doing crimes. But now you've got your first point of contact. You don't know if these guys are doing enforcement or not. What you find is a lot of people, a lot of times, little municipalities and boroughs find themselves in these 287Gs. They spent the money, and suddenly it's not popular politically. So they're in them, and then they're back out of them. I think there was a similar situation in Munhall, where people were in that. I'm not sure exactly. I think it was down in Munhall or one of the towns in the valley, where they get in this 287G. The local cops start enforcing immigration, and there's such a political uproar so quickly. Everybody's pointing the finger at everybody else. Well, we don't know who signed it. We don't know how that got done. Baloney. They paid for travel. They paid for training. They signed documents. It just became politically unpopular. But that is the situation right now. A lot of local law enforcement agencies are doing that. Not as many, so to speak, police departments, but you'll see that sheriff's departments. There are a couple big police departments around here that are cooperating. And if you go to our Allegheny Immigration Group social media, about 2-3 weeks ago, I read out a list of who's cooperating right on social media. You can see if your local police department's doing that.
Oh, I know the same, and working off of the same article here, they mentioned the Bucks County Sheriff's Department in the eastern part of the state, and
where I'm from, actually, originally from Bucks County.
And apparently, the Republican sheriff wanted them in the agreement, and apparently he lost, and now they want to pull out. Is that something? Is there a time frame for that has to be re-upped, or can that just be can that agreement be ripped up at a moment's notice? How does that work?
Well, I mean, I would think that the federal government will probably start requiring some sort of deal, a quid pro quo. Look, if we're going to train your guys and spend all this money on them, you have to be in the agreement for whatever period of time. The individual police officers who are deputized have to do recurring training as immigration rules, regulations, enforcement priorities change. They have to be kept up to date on that. But as of now, it looks like they can get in these things and get right back out of them. Yeah.
Does that? And I'm sorry, I'm on a roll here. I'm sorry. Does that set up the situation of what is and what isn't a sanctuary city or sanctuary county or sanctuary state?
I mean, when you talk about these sanctuary jurisdictions, this is a very heavy thumb on the scale, telling police don't do this, telling constables, deputies, judges. It's usually an across the board effort to do that. You get this in these the cities with super majorities. Obviously, you have the typical group of people that are putting money into backing super progressive district attorneys, super aggressive judges, or super progressive. I mean, where they don't want to put anybody in jail, and especially the immigrants. They're a special category that this group doesn't want to see anything bad happen to, almost like pets or children or something. But that's the way they do it, yeah.
And how this is applied, going back to the sanctuary city and the training and such, does that apply to the county jail as well, and their and the executives' insistence that we're not going to honor ICE detainers and hold people on ICE detainers, which is basically, and if I'm wrong, please correct me here, for everybody's learning purpose, an ICE detainer is essentially a warrant from ICE.
Yeah. So when you do a crime as someone who's here unlawfully, That goes into a publicly accessible computer system called the Unified Judicial System. You can look up people's charges. ICE can do that too, and they can cross-reference names, dates of birth, immigration status, and if that person is overstayed a visa, in some cases, even if they're still in a legal visa status, depending upon the crime, they're going to issue what's called a detainer. And that means even if this person is found not guilty, even if somebody posts bail to the local jail, they can't be released to anyone but ICE. And ICE takes them then to immigration jail where another process starts. But that's what a detainer is. They notify the local jailer that this particular case, this DUI, the shoplifting, whatever the crime is that got the non-citizen caught up in the criminal justice process, it says, he's got extra things to deal with. So even if he pays bail, you can't let him out. Even if a judge finds him not guilty, you're supposed to give us some time to come pick him up. To your point, there's a lot of different thoughts on that, but for most of these people, they've applied for things over the years, work permits, maybe asylum, maybe TPS. The government has biometrics, so they're not going to be able to go far, even if you let them out of jail. There's traffic cameras on busway platforms, airports can all see them, can see their faces. So this childish idea that we're going to let them out of jail and to hell with ICE and they're going to live the rest of their life happy and free in the United States, it's not really going to happen. What's going to happen is there's going to be a kinetic arrest. I witnessed one firsthand, a pretty nasty one where the guy didn't want to go along last summer up in Leetsdale outside a magistrate's office. I assure you, you don't want to see that happening. It's tough, it's dangerous, and people get hurt. So an orderly handover to ICE with court proceedings is probably the safest way for the least likely to cause harm, injury, danger, even danger to our own police and ICE officers. It's a form of self-help, too. It's a form of behavior by people that are so emotional about the subject and what's going on, they're not thinking clearly. They're thinking like children, like, oh, we got away from the jail, and the bad people of ICE are never going to catch us. In most cases, they know these people's home addresses. The reason they're issuing the detainers is to create an orderly situation for the handoff of this person. Because if there's going to be any way out of this, it's not going to be from running from ICE or fighting with ICE or pepper spraying ICE or yelling at ICE or short-circuiting ICE's processes. It's going to be for me. It's going to be for me. That's what I do. I do removal defense. I help people get out of deportation when they have a right to do that. Beyond that, if you're short-circuiting these processes and then out of the other side of their mouth, you're complaining when there's violent arrests, it's pick that up, put that down kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think there's a broader public safety issue here at play that I think most people don't recognize. So obviously our local law enforcement, they know every street,
Mm-hmm.
they know every alleyway,
Mm-hmm.
they know every picket fence, an abandoned house, and they know every pothole.
Yep.
So we want them involved because they can navigate our streets and our communities safely.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring someone in,
Oh my God.
right, these
Yep.
ICE agents who they don't know the lay of the
Mhm.
land, it creates a real danger to the public at large, to people in their homes,
Mhm.
to people on the street. So I think the case is, look, we need this needs to be orderly.
Mhm.
We need to have everyone that's involved in public safety on board to make sure that innocent, sort of the innocent bystanders aren't affected by this process.
Yes. Well, again, this was this summer, another situation. When you talk about the part of ICE that actually grabs people, it's a really small force. They're recruiting a lot of people very rapidly, but generally it's a small force. It's historically been about 5,000 or 6,000 people in the whole country. So they have to mass people and move them around where there's enforcement priorities. I know they talk about Chicago. They have to get other agencies, other federal agencies that help them. They don't need to be deputized. They're already trained at the federal level. And they need local help. And the example I'm going to give you involved a guy bumbling around New Economy Borough looking for a particular person he wanted to take into custody. And he bumbled into me and some other people in the guy's office. And I stood up and I said, "Hi, I'm Joe Murphy. I'm the lawyer for the company." He didn't know what to do. I've never seen this before. This cop said, "I don't talk to lawyers," and ran away. It's normally my clients that say, "I don't talk to cops." Right? This was an ICE agent, and he really kind of ran away from us. He had given us a phone number to call him later. It was in an Alabama area code. So this guy was a long way from home. I didn't know what he was doing. And again, I'm not making fun of anybody here. I know that he's acting in good faith, but the problem is local knowledge. Just like you said, he would not know about even local gangs that might set him up, all sorts of things like that. He was by himself. So, using local knowledge, local forces, they know where the problems are. That's exactly right.
And if you could just maybe finish us up on this immigration theme and talk about how what our current administration is trying to do, trying to take a situation that was very chaotic under the last administration and trying to bring some order to that. Now, that is going to cause a little bit of stress on folks that maybe we're trying to cut some corners.
Yes.
But there's also people, continents away that are trying to come to us and get in line and do it the right way.
Yep.
And we've had a number of folks for one reason or another cut that line. So can you talk about how this administration is trying to basically restore order to the immigration process itself, and talk a little bit about how this country welcomes more immigrants. I don't know how many million it is, over a million immigrants every year through a legal process. And that's many times more than any country in the world.
It is about 1 million people a year that we allow to legally immigrate to the United States and get green cards. And the vast majority of them, if they behave, can go on to become citizens. In terms of the things the administration is doing, there's a couple things that come to my mind. When we talk about people coming over the border and asking for asylum, and the fact that a certain portion of them are purely economic migrants. We don't know exactly what that is, but the administration has feared that that is a larger number and that these people are gaming the system. There's long waits for interviews in court. So you come in the United States, you make some kind of asylum claim. 5 months later, you can get a work permit, and then you get to work in the United States making American wages, live an American life. You're safe in the United States for a very long time in some cases. And obviously, the more people that came, the longer that line and the longer that wait got. So there was an incentive to put more and more people into the system to make the wait longer because you got to stay, you're authorized to stay, and you could work. President Trump has recently reversed the order. So now the most recent, instead of being interviewed after everybody that filed before you and before everybody that filed after you, the people that are coming over the border now and filing right away are getting very quick interviews, maybe in a month or two instead of years. So that's one of the things. You remove the incentive for more people to come. The people that are already in here, they're in here, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Most of them, if they've misbehaved, have already been thrown out anyway. So, but he's reversed the order, and that's one of the things to remove the incentive for that. Other things he's doing is he's using a lot of propaganda. You see these memes that are made by Homeland Security. They show how humiliating it can be. They're kind of snarky. They're kind of mean toward the migrants. There's a lot of fear. I think, we described the end of TPS. These programs are being turned off. And a lot of people start believing that their desire to stay here, even though they didn't have any real path to do that, they just wanted to kind of squat here, they decide that they're not going to be able to, and they go home voluntarily. We've heard about the $1,000 payments. The people of this country voted, to expel large numbers of people that are in this country that are not citizens and haven't followed the legal process. That could be a really unpleasant thing, really dangerous thing. We see these tackles and attacks and these fights with the police and things. So if there's a mandate to do that, if you can talk people into doing it voluntarily, and even if you can do that by creating an environment of fear, it's probably the most humane, most efficient, most inexpensive, and safest way of doing it. Obviously there's a propaganda dimension there, but that's the other big thing that comes to mind, is that they have effectively, through a combination of highly publicized arrests, and the media in many cases unknowingly plays into their hand, but they've amplified the fear to such levels that a lot of people are. I've started hearing over the last year people talk to me about wanting to give up and go home. I never heard that before. Yeah.
Joseph? thank you so much for being
Been quite a pleasure. I
for
always
educating us.
like the coverage.
For sure.
If,
and it's
one
one of my favorite subjects.
If folks want to find you, can
Yes.
you please tell our viewers how to find you, your coordinates?
Oh, sure. The name of the firm again is Allegheny Immigration Group. There's plenty of social media properties. Your TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. They're all named Allegheny Immigration Group. If you want to call the office, it's 412-521-2000. My cell, text, WhatsApp, they're all the same number, 412-973-3442. Joseph Patrick Murphy, Allegheny Immigration Group.
Joseph, I want to thank you too for coming on. You gave us a lot of insight here. I only have another 500 questions for you, so we'll have to have you back.
I'll be very happy
It seems
to come
like
back.
everything you said led to 3 more questions that I
Yep.
probably wanted to ask you. Hey, is it sometimes I could see where somebody would have some doubt about your conservative values because
Yep.
you hear the term immigration attorney and stuff.
Yeah.
I think you answered a lot of questions for everybody today about
Certainly
your
hope so.
conservative roots. I'm very happy that you're bringing people into the country legally
Yep.
and bringing them up to American values. And I can't thank you enough for what you do.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, hey, another great show. We could have went on another again. We could have went
Fast.
on for another 2.5
Time
hours
flies, time
easily.
flies, right?
Why don't you tell everybody about our social media? Remind everybody about Saturday again.
You got it.
too.
Folks,
Please.
thanks so much for joining us again on our 12th show. Real quick, if you'd like to learn more about our committee, PGH GOP Committee, that's PGH GOP Committee on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And again, a public service announcement from Gina Paulus. She's the chairwoman in District 2. We'd like to remind everybody that this Saturday, December 20th, the City of Pittsburgh will hold a cablecast public hearing on taxes, the budget, and there will be citizen participation. We're asking all Republicans and those folks that are fiscally conservative and want to see our city get back on track to please join us this Saturday at 10:30 a.m. at RCAC headquarters. That's 100 Fleet Street, Suite 205. RCAC headquarters, 100 Fleet Street, Suite 205, Pittsburgh, PA 15220. And we will have information about that public hearing in the show details.
Well, thank
That's
you again. Thanks for putting that up. I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and you and your family as well.
Thank you,
Joseph
Todd.
Patrick, Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Thank you. Merry
everybody.
Christmas.
And however you celebrate the this time of year, best wishes to you. We'll wrap it up. We're gonna reconvene here, perhaps just shortly, but we are gonna reconvene here in 2 weeks, and we are looking forward to next year very much. The show is going to continue. We have to bring Joseph Patrick Murphy back because he was awesome.
Thanks.
And hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. For Russell Dreyer, the Vice Chairman of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee, and I'm the Chairman, Todd McCollum. This is the official podcast of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee. We call it The Right Side of the Rivers. Have a safe and happy holiday, everybody. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Side of the Rivers. We appreciate you spending your time with us as we talk about the issues that matter to Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and beyond. Be sure to visit us online at pittsburghrepublicans.com for more updates, events, and ways to get involved. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on X, Facebook, and Instagram at PGHGOP Committee. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay on the right side of the rivers.